In today's episode, the sixth and the final episode of the Winning Law School Application series, I'm going to talk about your resume, your work experience, and how it can bolster your chances of getting into the law school of your dreams. I'm Niki Khoshzamir with PracticePro. For those of you who have been with us for the last few weeks, welcome to our YouTube family. I really appreciate your support. And I'm so sorry that this last episode is a couple of weeks later than I had envisioned. We had a lot of fires in California, and I was actually pretty sick with the air quality. For those of you who are new, I hope you consider supporting us. It really means a lot to us and YouTube. If you like the video, comment with any questions you have about resumes and the role they play in the law school application, as well as any other components of your application or law school. Today is also your final chance to enter our drawing to win a free customized career coaching session where you can meet with me or one of my amazing career counselors to talk about your specific situation and get some tailored advice so you can put together the application to get into your the law school of your dreams. And I will, for those of you who've already entered, you're in, and for the rest of you, I will have the information at the end of this video. So with that, let's get started. Today's agenda is, first, we're going to talk about how are resumes used by the admissions committee? How important are they really? How does the admission committee use it to evaluate applicants and ultimately decide whether you're going to get in or not? Second, we'll talk about the formatting of your resume and how that is going to help or hurt your chance of getting in. And finally, we'll talk about the substance, what to include, but also if you still have a chance to bolster your application, what type of jobs you should pick and how to really you put that in the resume to piggyback off of the other parts of your application. First, how important is the resume? I think of the resume more like the evidence binder or the evidence portion of a trial. So taking a step back, you've probably seen trials on TV, and you can look up the different components of the trial, and you'll see it's really the opening. Even though the jury is not really supposed to take the opening statement as their as evidence, it can be very persuasive. It's really makes them look at your side, favorably or disfavorably. And then you have this long process of presenting the evidence through documents and through witnesses. You present your side, the other side presents their side, and then you close. It's your closing statement. And again, the closing statement is what we really see on TV a lot, and it sometimes puts goosebumps on your arms, right? Because it's so powerful and persuasive. If we were going to compare your law school application to that, now that we have reached the end of the series, I would say that your LSAT and GPA is like your opening, right? You're getting the attention. Or maybe it's just good enough where you get the attention enough so that they want to read more. And your essay or your personal statement and any of those additional essays, the diversity statement, the why my law school essays, all those things are really like the closing, the most important one of it being the personal statement, in my opinion, that might just, if you're just right there, or they've gotten to the end of the selection and they're just, giving the last spots away, and you applied really early, and, they're like somebody's really advocating for you, your essay is the closer. The resume is really that body of evidence, right? Like, we don't want to repeat everything we did in the resume, on the personal statement, but if we're, for example, talking about certain experiences and mentioning it in passing, then your audience, your jury, the admissions counselor or the person who's reviewing your essay, your materials, and you deciding whether or not you're going to get in, that person will cross-reference the resume to see, what you've been up to. I think resumes A lot of people go straight through, and a lot of people have similar majors. So for the most part, I think it can hurt you if it's sloppy and not well put together. But it's not going to make or break it on the winning side of things. The exception is if you have truly shown already a dedication to being in the legal field. You already have fantastic work experience. Maybe you were at the debate team, and that can be helpful in getting the attention of somebody just skimming that resume. Next, let's talk about your resume and the formatting issues. This is important because you want your materials to be polished. An important part of a lawyer's job is to strive for excellence. And especially at the top law schools who feed into the top law firms, having meticulous attention to detail is a really important skill. So you don't want your resume to have, of course, any typos or mistakes, but you also want the formatting to be easy on the eye. So here are a few tips for you. No creative font style or color. We want black fonts. If you're not using Times New Roman, use something similar that is easily readable. 1-inch margins, all around. Maybe you print it, look at it to see if there are enough white spaces or it's really jumbled up a bunch of text. So if somebody's going to look at it, they're not going to see the things you want them to see. Also make sure that if there's something on the resume, if there are things on the resume we really want to highlight, a lot of even law students, the way they look at the formatting of their resume is just really like, okay, it looks nice to do this here and this, and they just do it like mechanically, robotically. Don't do that. Maybe we want to underscore, like, your GPA. Sure, they got that, in the LSAC report, but why not? Like, if it's really good, we should put that on the resume and underline it as well. So, like, again, if somebody's skimming the resume, they can see that. If you were part of the debate team or any activity in college or before that it's really relevant to the skills of a lawyer, that shouldn't be hidden in the middle of your activities section. That should start it. And you will know this because if you, once you finish your resume, once you print it and you look at it, you will see, does your eye go there? If you look at the screen, does your eye go where we want the eyes of our jury go or not? For some of you, this might be the first time you're actually putting together a resume. You have gotten your internships and your summer jobs through your school or through just submitting your transcript. You should already be speaking to law students from the different law schools to find out what's unique about their school so you can read that into your personal statement. So ask them for a favor. Ask them if they would be willing to share with you their resume. By just getting a copy of their resume and just following that template, which a career counselor at the law school has already looked at, you're going to ensure that your resume is in polished and perfect format to start with. Finally, let's talk about the substance of your resume. For some of you who are going straight through, or maybe you're just going to take a year off and you don't have a lot, don't worry about it. Law school is not like business school. There is no requirement that you have work experience. List your internships, your volunteer experience, and anything you've done. High school stuff, for the most part, are not necessary anymore. But if you did have something that's super relevant or super impressive, like you won a really competitive award, or you were in the debate team, something like that is like, or mock trials that are very relevant to show that you've wanted to be a lawyer for a while, you should find some space for it on the resume, whether it's in the last section of additional information, and still keep that on there. But for the most part, the high school experience is not relevant. People ask me if it's okay if they have additional pages of resume. Some individuals have advanced degrees, maybe even a PhD, and they have lots of work experience. And the answer is absolutely yes. You can have more than one page resume. You can have 2 or 3 pages. Don't go too crazy with it, but it's okay. When we applying for jobs, both at law school and beyond, we always want to have a one-page format. But for law school, this is your moment, so don't be shy, but don't let the space be an issue of not listing it. Aesthetically, I think if you're four lines extra, then we can maybe play with the margins and fit it into one page. If you can't have a one-page resume, then it would be ideal if it's 2 pages or a page and a half. But if it's just a few lines, we don't want it to look like, oh, you just didn't take the time to adjust your margins and play around with it to just deliver a one-page document. So give that some thought as well. What kind of work experience looks good? If you're going to take a few years off, or if you're still a college student and you're watching this and you're thinking of like getting a law-related job in the summer, I highly recommend looking at law firms. They sometimes have programs, where they hire what they call a case assistant. Case assistant is like a paralegal. They help the lawyers with research and putting together evidence binders and things like that. But they specifically recruit amazing college students for these positions, and it gives you a lot of exposure to how a law firm works, as well as you'll get a chance to go to trial, maybe if you're lucky, and bolster their resume with good work experience, but more importantly, see in reality how law is practiced at a law firm. I also love to recommend for people to work at civil rights organizations like the ACLUs and the Asian Law Caucus type of organizations. As a volunteer or a clerk, because they're not as highly staffed as law firms, you're going to get a lot of exposure. They will take you to, if they're having a hearing with the commissioners, as well as if they're going to court. And then finally, if you just don't have the time for, you're just doing school full time, a lot of these organizations also have volunteer opportunities where they might have an event, a gala, and these days it could be a virtual event. You can of course just attend, but you can also reach out and see if there's any help that's needed and volunteer to help them. A lot of these organizations do legal clinics for the community, whether it's immigration or employment or family, but it's in person. They always need volunteers to help them with the logistics. And by doing something good like that, you also get exposed to lawyers and direct representation of individuals, something that can be great to add to your resume. Finally, I get asked about just extracurriculars, like activities, and how many things do I need to do? And I think that's a very legitimate question, because a lot of times getting to college meant that in addition to having a good high school GPA and SATs or ACTs, you also do all these things, like you play a sport, you volunteer, you have to check all these boxes, right, to get into the top to the top colleges. It's not so much like that with law school. We lawyers, and it starts with law school, we have a very strict diet. This is why I say no cute stuff on the formatting of the resume. If you have a leadership experience, like there are, you're members of organizations, but also more importantly, you're serving on the board, maybe you're the president or the founder, it's absolutely impressive. Of course, you're going to include that because you're going to include everything, but highlight that. Like that, that is the type of extracurricular activity that is going to be super impressive. If your talent is unique, right? Like you're a former boxer, right? It's definitely might grab somebody's attention. If it's just like hobbies or a lot of volunteer service you've done, again, that's fantastic. Include it if you've already done it, but don't sacrifice studying for the LSAT, putting together an amazing personal statement just to collect all those extracurriculars like you did when you were applying to college, because it's just not as important. Anyways, if you have any specific questions about this, put it down below. And this is your last chance to win our free coaching session. So if you haven't already done so, like this video. I am going to, in the next week, look at all the comments and the likes from our first episode until now. and we're going to pick one or more. I maybe will do two because I feel really bad for taking this 2 weeks break in between and not doing a video for you guys. I hope this series has been helpful. Please consider subscribing to our channel and supporting us.